Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Tim. As promised, I'm coming back to you with the other side of this month's, whatever it is, vlog post of mine. I am going to tell you a little bit about the divine spiritual help I was able to receive and tap into, and still do. But the spiritual help that I received when I was in the darkest stretch of my alcohol addiction. I want you to think about this with an open mind. Some of the concepts that I might mention here may seem a little bit different, for lack of a better way to put it, but I want you to just try to divorce yourself from terminology right now. We have all, many of us, been exposed to some sort of religious upbringing. And here in the West, in the United States, a lot of us, and a lot of you people who might be watching this, were raised in some sort of Christian fashion. Not necessarily, but most people watching this, I think, who are connected with me on social media or know me, probably come from some sort of Christian background. And it doesn't matter whether you're Christian or Muslim or whatever it might be. Most religions out there these days believe in one sort of higher, supreme, all-powerful being. You may call it God, you may call it Allah, you may call it the jelly man in the sky. It doesn't matter. Everybody believes in one central divine being from which all things flow and all power flows. And then there are other entities, other beings on the other side. And most every religion has them. Christians will call them angels and saints, saints being souls that have departed this plane of existence that the church feels very positive, do have a home with God on the other side. You can call them a variety of things. Spiritual people will call God source, energy. They will also talk about angels. They will talk about what Christians might refer to as saints, as other things like spirit guides, something that I'm going to address here now because they are just as real as the Catholic version of saints. And in fact, I think they're the same thing. So the divine help that I received when I was in the throes of my addiction stemmed from, you can call it my guardian angel, my loved ones looking out on the other side. For me, I call it my spirit guide, one of them. But let me back up a little bit here. I've always been interested and fascinated in the concept of what is on the other side, and who might be over on the other side looking out for us, deceased loved ones, etc. And when I was still drinking but not yet totally to the point where I was intoxicated all the time, I did a meditation several years ago, maybe when I was about 30. And it was, you can find them. And I'd invite you to try it if it feels right to you. I would invite you to go on YouTube and find a meditation to meet your spirit guide. And I think you might be amazed if you really open yourself up to it. But I did one, and it was kind of a hypnotic type thing where you put yourself in a very relaxed state and you imagine yourself in a very peaceful environment, and in that, your guide, whoever it might be, whatever it might look like, he, she, otherwise, whatever is right for you, comes to you, and you can introduce yourself and you can meet them in wherever you go to when you are in a deep meditative state. And in my case, it was the edge of a forest, and there was a large, fallen over tree, large log on the ground, and there was a tree line right there. And waiting for me as I walked across this field was an older gentleman cloaked in very radiant, sparkling blue. And when I got closer, the person, the entity who was my guide, greeted me, and they looked a lot like Obi-Wan Kenobi. and it was the Sir Alec Guinness version of Obi-Wan Kenobi, not the Ewan McGregor version of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And they were very radiant, sparkling, with a very blue-white, diamondish aura in kind of like the Obi-Wan Kenobi robe and everything. And you would say, well, you could just be conjuring that up, Tim. You're kind of a Star Wars freak and everything. And yes, that's what I thought too. It's of course you would think that. And then they gave me a name as well. And the name I got was Ashtal. Ashtal, Aashtal. And I've got that spelling in meditation several times since then. So anyway, I met my primary spirit guide, and it might not be a topic for this video, but we have a variety of spirits on the other side, guides, angels, who are looking out for us. They're actually all part of relationships and agreements that we made before we incarnated here on Earth. Again, something that is a topic for another video. But back to me meeting my spirit guide. So I come out of the meditation. I had just had this vision, this dream, daydream, whatever you might call it, of this Obi-Wan Kenobi looking blue guy who was sparkling and seemed very wise and everything, whose name was Ashtal. And that was my spirit guide, right? So I thought, well, I must be just making this up. And I just went about my business, and that was it for quite a long time. And my addiction progressed and progressed. And over time, the name Ashtal kept popping into my brain at the weirdest times. Ashtal. And I remembered that. And it's not anything I was trying to come up with. It's not something that I cared to keep top of mind. But it would just pop into my brain. And one time, when I was drunk, because of my Christian upbringing, I finally got this idea in my head that this was evil. It was the devil. It was some sort of bad demonic entity trying to trick me. And I told Ashtal to go away. And Ashtal did. If you know anything about your spirit helpers, spirit guides, angels, etc., if you tell them to go away and to not get involved in your life, they'll honor that. They never really go away. They're always with you. They always love you, and they're always tied to you. They never go away, but they will say, okay, dog, you got this. You think you got this. Okay, I'll just hang back and watch. And that is what happened. I told my spirit guide, Ashtal, to go away. And then as things got worse and worse and worse, I kept hearing that name, though, in my head. And so finally, I don't know what came over me or what made me decide this, but because I was afraid, because like I said, I was raised religious, and if it wasn't a canonized saint that I was thinking of, or Michael the Archangel, or whatever, then it was probably the devil or something not good for me. And so I finally was at a point where I was rock bottom, and I was just thinking about it once, and I gave up. And I was kind of like, well, Ashtal, if you are real and you are good and you have my best interest at heart, then come in and help me, because I really need it. And of course, I was doing this in conjunction with praying to Jesus and St. Jude, whose feast day I was born on, and all that other stuff. And they're here and helping as well. But with the whole Ashtal idea, I kind of had one of these moments where, if you've ever seen the movie A Case for Christ, it was this man who was a journalist. And I didn't think it was a very good movie, but what it was about was he was trying to scientifically disprove the resurrection or the existence of God. I can't remember which one it was. But at any rate, he could not do it, and he finally gave up at the end and said, all right, God, you got me. You must be real. And he meant it. And once he gave in to that idea, all these miraculous things started happening in his life. And so that's kind of what happened to me. I let Ashtal back in, and that's when all of a sudden I get laid off. I go to the emergency department because I was, in the throes of the addiction several months later. But in that, if you watch my other video, I got laid off, got my new job, quit drinking, lost weight, went back to drinking. I went through this up and down. But since then, the craziest things have been happening in the weirdest order, and life has become so truly amazing ever since then. And in that meditation, in meditation, which I do every day, I communicate regularly with the traditional entities that you would think that a good Catholic boy like myself would. I talk with Jesus. I talk with who I call Yeshua because I believe that was his name, Yeshua ben Joseph. Saint Jude, I was born on his feast day. Divine Mother, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene. I also have conversations with Saint Germain, with Buddha, with Muhammad, all that good stuff. But there are these guides of mine that come in, Ashtel being my primary guide, and then there have been some others that have come in too as well, because that's what guides do, spirit guides do. They come in and leave at different points in our life. But anyway, they're always there to support you. They will not interfere in your life, but they're your cheerleaders, unless you want them to, which I recommend asking them to. They are your cheerleaders. They advise you. They give you intuitive hits, feelings. They give you that gut knowing what to do and when to do it if you just learn how to follow it. And when you get used to the idea of them and you just accept that they're as real as anything else, I mean, think about it, guys. We pray, a lot of us, to a higher power, to a God, to angels, to saints, whatever it might be. We talk to them. Why wouldn't you think they would be able to talk back to us if we were in the right state of mind to hear it? I find that a lot of times when I talk to myself or I'll put a question out there, whatever answer just immediately pops into my head, because we all have those moments where just something pops in, then that is your spirit guides, might be what they call your higher self, whatever you want to call it, talking back to you and giving you the guidance that you need. But at any rate, once I let them in and I made a conscious decision to accept my spirit team on the other side, my guidance, and follow the advice that they were giving me and the feelings they were giving me, life has just become so crazy amazing. And I think if I'm not talking in circles here, but you know, the good Catholic boy in me would say, oh, you can't talk to anything but Jesus and Mary and say your Hail Marys and everything like that. But now that I do this and I let other heavenly beings into my conversation, it feels so right. There's nothing bad that I feel about anything, and it's only making me a better person, a better family guy, a better husband, father, brother, not sister. I'm not anybody's sister, at least not in this incarnation. But you know what I'm saying. Friend, employee, whatever. It makes me just a better person. And I would encourage that, though. If you, anything about this little diatribe I'm going on here about me talking to the divine beings on the other side, if anything interests you, go online and search out a YouTube video. There's plenty of them out there on meeting your spirit guide, and try it. Be open to it and see what happens. I think you might be surprised and amazed. That's the divine help that I received and started following, that helped me, that gave me a complete guiding hand and lined up the dominoes that got me out of the addiction and keep me on a path to a much more accepting, peaceful, neutral, loving, love-filled life. So that's it, guys. I know this might sound crazy to a lot of you, but just think about it and give it a try. And you might be surprised once you start talking to the cosmos, what the cosmos might start saying back to you. So with that, I leave you with blessings, love, thoughts, and all that good stuff. So until we chat again, bye-bye.